Stage 7 of Paris-Nice was meant to be the big mountain stage. It still would have a big mountain, but a couple had been cut out along the way. Just 109 kilometres for an adjusted stage because of the snow. Starting in Nice and going up the valley, heading to Oran in the end. Belvedere and Colmiane cut out the route. Oran would see the finish with a long climb after the opening Côte d'Aspremont. Up to 1,600 metres above sea level, and when we saw the first images, 52.5 kilometres remained. A big breakaway of 15 riders was up the road. They'd had 3.5 minutes. The gap was coming down when we saw this happen. An island in the middle of the road. An error, and Matthias Skjelmoser going down. Hurt and off to hospital. The rider who'd started the day on the podium of Paris-Nice in third position, Skjelmoser the Dane, having to leave the race due to an unfortunate incident. The race continued. Lipovic was the closest rider at 40 seconds from Jorgensen in the GC. Up in the breakaway, Julien Alaphilippe, the two-time world champion, was busy keeping things going. The likes of Paulus, Storer were there though as well. Romeo in the breakaway. There were plenty of candidates for victory if they could keep the gap to the peloton. The peloton were getting a move on and starting to bring things down. The gap came down to 2.5 minutes with Paulet working hard inside the final 20 kilometres, and it was touch and go. But a gap of just under 2 minutes when the final climb started meant that there was a chance for those at the front. The hardest part of the climb coming right at the end. How would it go? Jonathan Narvaez set a big pace at the bottom. The gap immediately came down to 1.5 minutes, but at the front, Nelson Paulus lost contact just as there was an attack from Michael Storer. Mauro Schmidt able to follow. Paulus' teammate Steinhauser couldn't, and it was Storer the Australian, Schmidt the Swiss. Voss continued the work behind in the peloton. Matteo Jorgensen isolated at this point, but looking good. 3.5 kilometres remained, and Storer would put in another dig. Joao Almeida sitting back in the bunch. Lenny Martinez was there as well. And Mats Pedersen hanging on for dear life, riding superbly. But there was no hanging on for Mauro Schmidt. The J-Car Lula rider ridden admirably with Kellen O'Brien in the breakaway. The Giro D'Italia stage winner would lose the wheel of Storer. Behind, though, could there be a late twist? Lenny Martinez, having lost almost 10 minutes the day before, was back to have a go here. He'd be chased down straight away, though, by McNulty. Ben O'Connor, well, it wasn't his day, it hasn't been his week. Unfortunate yesterday with the incident. Felix Gall was the next to try. And Martinez would try and follow him. But the gap's still at 1:33, and with 2 kilometres to go, it was looking very, very good for the leader on the road. Mats Pedersen, by the way, was still riding with the very best. But the best on the day looked increasingly like Michael Storer. Martinez himself dropped by Gall. And with the leader inside the final kilometre, the snow was coming down, temperatures were as low as freezing. It did not matter, though, to Tudor Pro Cycling. Michael Storer, a two-time winner of Vuelta stages 4 years before this, back at the very top, winning on the World Tour for Tudor Pro Cycling. It was their biggest win of the season. Mauro Schmidt put in an admirable ride to finish at 20 seconds. Third place on the day went to Georg Steinhauser. Filthy weather yet again on Paris-Nice, but big performances. And Storer perhaps getting his own team closer to the Tour de France. Lipovic was good enough to steal 3 seconds on Jorgensen and the rest of the GC riders, and Mats Pedersen finishing in the top 10 of a mountain stage in Paris-Nice. The glory on the day went to Michael Storer, the man from Western Australia, representing a Swiss team looking for wild-card invites to the Tour and the Giro. That might help them on their way. Storer, Schmidt, Steinhauser, Romeo and Giga in the top 5. Lipovic with those 3 seconds, cutting the GC lead going into the final day. A visibly cold but delighted Michael Storer on the podium as Tudor enjoy one of the best days of their existence. It's a 37-second lead for the defending champion, hoping to become a double champion. Matteo Jorgensen in control. It's 37 seconds over Lipovic. Anything can happen on the final day. Skjelmose, of course, having to abandon the race, so Arensman is now third. Another day in the yellow jersey for Matteo Jorgensen, riding back to his adopted hometown. The final stage is a difficult one. Col de la Porte takes them above 1,000 metres. The Côte de Pays, Col d'Aise and Col des Quatre Chemins, habitual climbs on this stage. It's always one of the most exciting days of racing of the entire season, and you can see it on TNT Sports.